Hey there, small business rock stars. So, are there more days where you'd like your business to um, be running itself compared to the days where it's running you? Which would you prefer, right? And do you have that massive to-do list that seems to get you nowhere and really constant fires that you're putting out, right? So, if you've ever avoided writing a business plan because it felt boring or overwhelming or like a waste of time, today's show is for you because we're going to get with a business plan. We're going to talk about how we can get to a point where you are running your business instead of the other way around. So, we're going to talk today about creating a business plan that actually feels like you and it's going to give you control of your business back. So, how's that sound, Kylene?
Sounds great. Yeah, a live breathing plan. It's not a dusty document that we have, in the side of our push to the side in our office. It's a real blueprint that you can use to help you take action and grow your business in a way that you want. So this week we're live, and we want to hear from you guys. So, what's your biggest bottleneck in your business plan right now? What's causing you any stress, any anxiety? Share it with us, and then be sure to tag a friend who needs to hear this and who can be part of the conversation with us. Make sure you like and share.
Absolutely. And we are definitely live in more ways than one. I'm actually live from the 80/20 studios, the place here where some of you that were at Fun Live last June would recognize this room that I'm in right now. So, yeah, we're out there. I'm actually here right now. We're doing a board retreat for the grace period. So, getting an opportunity to take a quick break here. Everybody's grabbing some lunch, and Kylene and I are doing Small Business Saturdays. So, even though we're in the same spot, I'm just about 10 minutes up the road right now, and Kylene's at home after yoga class this morning. So how did that go?
It was great, wonderful class. It was a nice rainy
Awesome.
morning,
All
and
right. Well,
go ahead.
sounds good. All right. Well, let's get everybody pumped up with a little bit of the introduction here, and then we can dive into our topic today. Sound like a plan?
Sounds great.
Dark days, overwhelmed, trapped in a maze. Small business owner, stress had me in a daze. Every problem piled up, couldn't catch a break. Thought I couldn't make it, my dreams were at stake. But then I found a group that changed my whole perspective. Our success group of a community so effective. We all chasing that dream, sharing struggles and fears. They understood my journey, wiped away my tears. Together we broke through, we rise above. No more feeling stuck, we're fueled by love. Our small business is shining, reaching new heights with the support of our success group. We're taking flight, our word is strong, the vision so clear, building our dreams with no more fear. Together we're resilient, unstoppable force with our success group.
Let's talk some business.
All right. Well, welcome into Small Business Saturdays. Kylene, I realized in this live opportunity we didn't actually introduce ourselves. So you want to share with folks that maybe are tuning in new to this program who you are?
Yeah, I am Kylene Montgomery, and I encourage transformation with positive energy, and I do that with yoga and mindset classes.
Awesome. And I'm Aaron Montgomery with our Success Group, and we are here to just figure out ways together as a community to facilitate falling deeper in love with what we get to do each day in our business. And so, yeah, I'm excited about this topic here today, Kylene.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm kind of the business plan guy, and I think sometimes business plan gets a bad rap
Yeah.
when it comes to small business world. There's a lot of reasons that we come up with, or excuses or justifications as to why we don't write a business plan. So I'm curious, and since you're working from home today, I've got a little different setup here. So if you can kind of run the comments for
Yep.
us here.
Yeah, we
But
have
I'm curious from those live listeners right now, and it's okay to be honest, who's got an actual written out business plan that they operate from regularly? So,
Well, let's
and you're welcome to answer that as well, Kylene.
Okay. Well, let's check in with some people here that have checked in. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
I can.
Okay. Okay. So Barb's saying hello and happy Saturday, everyone. And Jerry's checking in. Hello to you. And we have Craig here. Good afternoon. And your neighbor out there, Chandler, is there. Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
Me, but it needs to be refreshed.
Absolutely. And that's a great point, Chandler. That's and I'm actually waving at her. I can see her through the door right here. So that's a really good point, Chandler. The refreshing part of it, and I think that's what we're really talking about here, as you mentioned, Kylene, a living, breathing document. So refreshing is actually just part of the process. So the fact that Chandler's got something that she's working from, you know, since I'm in her place, I would set off a confetti cannon. It would be really messy, and oh, she just looked at me like I was going to get in trouble.
You're
But
crazy.
anyways,
Uh,
yeah. So
Andy wrote,
okay,
she said, nope, I don't have a working business plan, but soon I will. Happy Saturday, everyone.
happy Saturday to you too, Andy. Great to see you here. What does Barb have there for us? Sorry, it's a little too far away for me to see.
It's all right. Barb has, I have a written business plan that is reviewed on a yearly basis. Now you
Very
need a
good.
confetti
Excellent, Barb.
cannon for sure.
Yep. Excellent. Excellent. Good stuff. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah, Craig said, I have part one from Chat GPT to operate from. So,
Well, he says I have part one from ChatGPT, but operating from it, no.
oh, I get it. Okay. Yeah.
So, you
This is
okay
why
over
I
there?
don't usually do the comments.
I know. All right. Um, okay. Well, and Craig makes a really good point there too, right? Like, but operating from it, and that's also a big part of this, right? It's one thing to have a business plan, but are you on a regular, right? Like, so for Barb, reviewing it yearly to update and review. Now, the next step, and I'm assuming Barb does this, knowing how Barb runs her business, but really having that as an accessible tool that, when in doubt or when there's a question, what specifics. I pull for mine all the time when we're doing marketing, when you're looking for different things to even feed into ChatGPT and some of that stuff. So it really is something that is an integral tool, not a I have to do it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any other thoughts on that, Kylene?
Just that I don't really have one. I mean, I have the big overall one for OSG, but you pretty much put that together. So
Yeah, and I'm not even sure. Do you even know where it is or how to access it? So
I
that's
do know where it is.
Okay,
and-
that's good. That's
but-
good.
yeah.
I need to get you in there more often. But yeah, from a general perspective, right? And I think from a mindset. So, Kylene, can you explain to folks the pillars again? Anybody that's new in this?
Yep. So we have three different pillars that we look at when helping business owners, because it's not just one thing. We look at you holistically, and so you need to have your mindset in the right place, right? So we focus on that. Make sure you really have that belief inside of why you're doing what you're doing, and then you go into the fundamentals. That's the action. That's the how-to part, and then there's the wellness part. So that's where you keep everything in balance, so you have the energy to keep moving forward,
Yeah.
and not get burned out.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, and I think the other side of this, as we get in, so that's perfect. So let's get into the mindset aspect of it. Sorry, I'm a little all over the place here right now. Too many hats on right now, so bear with me for a
Can I
moment.
share Barb's comment here real quick?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
She said, I think my business plan could be more organized with tabs in the binder for each area.
Cool. There you go. Make it a little easier to access, make it a little easier to be a working document that you can get to things quickly and easily. For me personally, I do like to keep it in Google Docs, just for that reason, right? That you don't always have that with you, and the fact that it's in a digital format. I can search for different things, but then yes, it is really important to set up your, as she talks about with tabs, or organized it a little bit, where you have each section. So I've got a table of contents that's on the side, the tabs there, that then you can kind of get to, okay, what's our marketing plan, and we're going to get into all the parts and pieces here in just a little bit too, Kylene. So,
Yep.
But from a mindset perspective, right, this conversation is again about tying our strengths, values, and passions into our business plan as a whole. And so going back to what we talked about, kind of the reasons, the excuses, the justifications for not having one, I have not met any business owners that I would go, oh, they're just lazy, right? Like, to be a business owner, it takes somebody special to be somebody that's in charge of something like this. And laziness doesn't factor into that, right? There may be times where you feel a little bit lazy, but I've not run across a person that I've talked to, Kylene, that I'm going, oh, well, they just don't have one because they're lazy, right? And a lot of times it shows up because they're afraid to get it wrong. I don't know what to do. I was talking to somebody the other day, and like, man, you search for business plan templates online and you get, thousands of them. Which one's right? And my answer to her was the one that works best for you, that you're going to actually work from, right? That you're going to operate from. Like using somebody else's template or setting something up that doesn't feel right to you and it isn't going to be something that you work from, that's a waste of your time, in my opinion. So, that the only wrong plan, Kylene, is no plan.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think by sharing that, that there is so many different templates out there that you feel that pressure that you're going to do it wrong. I think that just gave a lot of people permission to just go forward with it and figure out what works for them. It doesn't have to be that cookie cutter look that sometimes we're hard on ourselves. And, for me, sometimes I say I don't have the discipline, I just have to every day, do something. And, but really it's just being in alignment. And so your plan needs to reflect your strengths and your values and your passions. And then when you're in alignment, that motivation is easier and decision-making feels lighter when you have that guide with your plan.
Yeah. And getting down into the weeds of those details, right? It is so crucial to have those SVPs in there and lay them out. And we go into very deep specifics. So I'm happy to work with any of the MOS folks on getting into that stuff. But it is like a GPS, I would say, right? Your business plan should end up being like your GPS. It doesn't drive for you, but it helps you avoid the U-turns, the wrong exits, the endless backtracking. Because I use my GPS to drive around here locally, not because I don't know where I'm going, but it helps guide, right? It gives you, kind of gives you the information, and you can not have to think so much about it, right? So, sorry, I keep looking at what we look like here, and all right.
All right, let me add the comments here, Barbara.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree on a copy in Google Docs for easier access. This is something I don't have. A great idea to have for accessibility. Yeah, I agree. And then Andy wrote
incorrectly. I had in mind that the business plan was to be able to go to the bank for funding, right? And that's what I think society thinks that it is, and therefore, when you don't know that's, I totally get that, Andy, and certainly it can be used for that. But what we're talking about here is really a working business plan for operating your business from on the regular. Kind of becomes the everything, right? Like ultimately your business plan is going to have your processes in there, your standard operating procedures, etc. But again, your format and your template is going to be what's right for you. Now, can you take what you've built here in this kind of working environment and say, okay, now I would like to, your banker says, well, I need a business plan. Okay, cool. Now you can define that, or not define that, kind of realign that to the needs of the banker. Unfortunately, the banks just don't do that anymore, right? It's really hard to go get a loan these days for a small business. So, yeah, there you go. Exactly what Barb said there. A business plan can be used like an SOP. So,
I like that.
all right. Go ahead, Kylene. So, and
No,
I'm
I was
having a
just
little bit
gonna
hard
say.
time hearing Kylene. It's really, really soft. So,
Oh,
it's probably just on my end, but
okay. I can speak up.
we're good.
I just said I like that idea that Barb had shared. Business plan can be used like a SOP. It's huge.
Ah, okay. I'm gonna make a change too, so I can hear you. I think I had the wrong thing doing. All right, so Kylene, let's move on to the pillars while I'm playing with my
Sure.
audio here.
So we're gonna go into the fundamental pillar. This is that action part. So it's what goes into your plan. A business plan, it doesn't have to be 40 plus pages long. It just starts with 5 different areas with the fundamental formula, and Aaron's going to walk you through that because this is his expertise here. But the 5 areas, I'll just highlight them. Aaron, are you almost done?
I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah,
Oh, you ready?
I
Okay,
got it
then
moved.
I'll let
And
you
now
go
I can
ahead.
hear you too, so I apologize for missing all that there, or missing a few things there. But you're exactly right, Kylene. This is an area that I love. And here's why I love this. Going back to that idea about the fact that the template doesn't necessarily matter per se, right? Like, I think there are 5 key areas that we need to make sure that we at least start with or highlight. And I'd like to see these in everybody's business plan, but I will explain why. So this is not prescriptive. This is not like if your business plan doesn't include these things, you're going to fail. This is inspirational, and I hope that I can show you why putting a little time and effort into this part of your business plan will be helpful. Now, this is also a reminder for everybody that this does not mean that this is the only thing that you should have in your business plan.
Yeah.
To Barb's point, a business plan can be used like a standard operating procedure, right? So there's going to be a lot of other things in here. You're gonna probably at the end of the list go, well, what about this, Aaron? What about this, Aaron? Right? And so I want to hear from you guys. What's missing from my list? But the reality is, I think with these key foundational areas, then everything else is going to flow out of that. So does that sound like a good plan, Kylene?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay. All right. So the first thing that I always look for in a good business plan is, does it clearly outline how you're going to achieve your goals? Like, A, does it even tell you what your goals are? And B, does it have the ability to, what we term at our success group, becoming a goal getter? Right? And I'm trying to be very clear on the G, goal getter, not just goal setter. So that's the first part, Kylene. Really just understanding what are your actual targets, not vague dreams. Kylene, what are the 2 most important parts when you're setting a goal?
How much and by when?
Look at you. You are
I do
listening.
listen.
Okay. How much and by when, right? And you'll hear other people talk about SMART goals, the acronym for SMART goals. I love it. I think that's a great way to look at it. To me, it's a little bit overcomplicated sometimes, and because you got to remember what SMART goals stand for: specific, measurable, blah blah blah. Right? I can't even remember them half the time. So boil it down. How much and by when? But in your business plan, take some time. This is when you're writing a business plan, this is working on your business. And so give yourself that gift of having that opportunity to work on your business a little bit and be able to go deeper into, okay, here's my how much and by when, but what are some of the milestones when we get there? How am I going to measure it? We do, at the beginning of each year, we do a goal getter program, and you can go back and watch the replay of that. You'll have to reach out to me to get that. You have to direct message me. But you can go watch the replay of that, and there's a lot of different parts and pieces, and all that stuff can go right into your business plan. So anything else about the goal getter part, Kylene?
If you haven't been through it, I would highly encourage you to watch the replay. It's amazing once you have things broken down to a piece. or to a place where it's believable.
Yeah.
Um, how it just clears the path for you to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's number one, goal getter. Number
Yep.
two is I call the relationships your people. Um, you know, Kylene, we talk all the time, but success is a team sport.
Yep.
At the end of the day, I don't care if you're a solopreneur, independent, I work from home, I work by myself, et cetera, et cetera. There is always going to be a need to have people in your corner, right? And so these are really the relationships that you have that are fueling your growth. And the reason why this is important for our business plan is a lot of times our team or the people that end up around us kind of end up by happenstance. And yes, you can luck out, and yes, that can go well. But if you clearly define who you need around you, then it's going to be easier to identify those people when it's time to bring them in. You may be in a stage in your business where, yeah, it is really just you, right? Maybe you've got some friends and people that help out kind of thing. But to very clearly define, the rest of the people that are going to be involved in your success, the more depth you get here, the better off you're going to be, right? And, one of the best ways to do this is to start by really clearly defining your role, right? People don't always think about that. That was something that I didn't really think about at first, but in your business, are you going to do everything? Yes, you might do that at the beginning, but is that the way it's always going to be? Is that the way you always want it to be? Right? So understanding and this is going back to then tying into our strengths, values, and passions, understanding what your strengths are and defining that will really help you then determine, okay, where are the areas that I'm going to need more support, right? So if you're somebody that isn't a big fan of the bookkeeping, accounting stuff, and it's really not for you, you're more of a creative type, and the spreadsheets aren't your thing, right? Well, then define that, yeah, I'm going to need to at some point engage a bookkeeper, engage an accountant. I'm not saying you have to hire them, but maybe you're engaging that service, or maybe you're using a virtual assistant or something like that. But not every accountant, bookkeeper, virtual assistant person is created equally, right? Not to say one's better than the other, but the one that works with you better is going to be important, right? So defining that as best you can will give you a leg up when it is time to bring on that person and that type of thing. So anything else in the relationships, Kylene, that you think of?
I think the clearer you are with that, the right people you're going to attract,
Yeah.
and the faster you'll get to your idea of success once you are attracting the right people.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. So the third thing is what I call marketing groundwork. And a lot of people hear the word marketing and we immediately start thinking about what, Kylene? What shows up when you think about marketing?
Social media.
Social media, the tactics, right? The email, the text messaging, the events, the word of mouth, any of those things, right? Like we think about that as marketing. And while that is true, that is, and I'm not even going to say second half. I think it's even a smaller than a half, but that's the end part of marketing. But that's actually where most people tend to start, is with that stuff. And then they go, I don't know why my marketing's not working. And typically it's because they don't understand what I call the marketing groundwork, right? And the marketing groundwork would include things like, what is your brand? And not the color of your logo and font that you're using. Those just speak to what your brand stands for. Your brand is really your values, right? And very clearly defining that and how you will evoke that, how you will make other people understand what your brand is, right? So that's the first part, is really developing that in your marketing groundwork, being clear on what your brand is. And then the next part is being very clear on who your ideal customers are, right? So Kylene, who aren't our ideal customers?
Everyone. What do you mean?
Everyone, right? Yeah, exactly. Like, because most people think that. They think that, right, that if you've got money in your wallet, that they're an ideal customer.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
So
I mean, I think back at the very beginning, I could figure out a way to help everyone, right? But then my message was getting lost because How does it go when you're trying to be everything to everyone? You're
Yeah. Yeah.
nothing to
You
no
try to be
one.
all things to everyone, you end up being nothing to no one.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the next part, right? You got your brand, then you clearly define your ideal customer. These are the customers you'll love doing business with. You can also look up something called the Pareto principle, and 20% of your income is going to, or I'm sorry, 80% of your income is going to come from 20% of your customers. I always get those flipped, but the reality is 20% of your customers are going to generate 80% of your income. So your marketing needs to be focused specifically on that top 20%, or I'm sorry, yes, top 20% who are going to bring you 80% of your income. Now I've got it all mixed up in my head. So I keep questioning myself, doubting myself there.
We
But
need to get you a visual there.
yeah, absolutely. So really clearly defining who those ideal customers are is the next part of your marketing groundwork. And then the last part of your marketing groundwork is kind of the trifecta that ties both of those things together, right? What's your brand? What do you love doing? What are your values? And then who are your ideal customers? What do they love about doing business with you? That type of thing. But then taking those two things and saying, okay, well, this is my main product and service mix. It's not saying that this is the only thing that you're doing, but getting very clear on what you're going to be best at, right? What's going to make you stand out? Why do people come to you? And then designing your products and services for that, right? And so that's going to give you a really nice, solid groundwork foundation to then go out and do all the strategies and tactics. And it makes it so much easier because when you know your ideal customers, you know what platforms you need to be on, you know where they're at. When you know what your values are, you know that I don't need to try to copy somebody else and compare and be like somebody else. I need to be me. And so if social media is not for you, that's okay. You just need to understand what is for you and then go get to be the very best that you can be at it, right? So, who was I talking to? I was just recently talking to somebody, and they were talking about the different events and things that they go to and how they utilize that. Oh, it was on Two Rare Guys podcast, right? She was talking about, and yes, she's got social media and things like that, but the reality is going out to events was really her thing, and that's what she got good at. But she understood who her ideal customers were and what her values were. So, you can make those decisions easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
All right.
just have to share this real quick.
Yep.
Taylor, thanks for letting me borrow your hubby today.
We're having a great retreat already. I've gotten to know these board members here, amazing people. That it's called the Grace Period, by the way. So if anybody wants to support, we've got a trivia night coming up. So always looking for people. So head over to thegraceperiod.net and check it out. So
Awesome.
all right.
Yeah.
So I want to get some lunch before we get back into the retreat. So
Okay.
I want to keep going.
Yep. Ready for the wellness side?
No, that was only 3. Right? Did I give away 4 and 5 and you?
Oh, I was just going along. I thought you went all the way through. Okay, keep
All right.
going.
All right. Wow.
Number 4.
Is it because I'm talking too long or what?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. All
I
right.
just heard some other things in there, so I thought
Okay,
you
all right.
4 and 5.
For you heard 4 and 5. Okay. So number 4 is the numbers game. Know your numbers. Right?
Yeah.
And so you've probably heard this enough, Kylene. What are the 3 main things that we need to be aware of inside of our business plan for knowing our numbers?
Well, how
Quizzing you.
How much does it cost just to turn the lights on in your business, right?
Yeah, that's one.
Yep. And I mean that's really the most important thing. So you're not,
Yeah.
working yourself. And how much are your costs, right?
That's it. So that's one. Knowing exactly how much it costs you to be in business, and
Okay.
and
then I'll
we
let
can
you
look at
finish
that.
the other two.
Oh, you're gonna let me finish, right? Okay. So the other number to be aware of is what is your pricing strategy, right? And I say the other number to be aware of, but that's not necessarily always just a number thing. All right, so our costs give us information, but if you watched last week's Small Business Saturday, I talked about the fact that our pricing strategy doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the number, but how we share the perceived value, the value that we share, right? And I say perceived value. For you, it's not perceived value. It's the value that you put out into the world. But the perceived part comes from how do your ideal customers perceive that, right? How do they accept that and say, yes, what you do is worth me exchanging this amount of value for it, right? So number one is understanding your costs. So you have that guardrail to make sure that you're keeping your business healthy. And then what's your pricing strategy is the second kind of number game idea. And then, okay, I am going to quiz you because, at this point, I'm hoping that you understand what the third number is that we need to be aware of when we're looking at our business plan.
Your time.
Not a monetary
right?
number.
Huh?
Are you ready?
Your time, right? How long is it taking you to do certain things? Are you spending all day long just to sell one product, for example? Are you
Or make one social media post.
Yeah. That was me though. I thought that's when I wasn't clear, right? And so you try to be someone else and you force it, and then
Yep.
you look at your hourly rate after doing that one thing and the return, and you pretty much just created a hobby, right?
Yeah. I'm not 100% familiar with all the other states, but here in Missouri, minimum wage is $15 an hour. So, and that's a clock in and clock out. When you're a small business owner, you get to live it every single second of every single day, right? So, really important, understand your time. Now, are there other numbers that could be, or in some cases maybe even almost should be involved in you need budgets, you need to understand cash flow and profit and loss, but you can bring in other outside people to help you with that, right? You can hire an accountant or a bookkeeper that can help you kind of gauge and manage that. I think from a business owner perspective, you need to be actively engaged in those three things.
Yeah.
Right? Really understanding your costs, keep it healthy, and then setting your pricing strategy based on value. Again, go back to last Saturday's Small Business Saturday episode, and then understanding your time. And we'll get to that as we get into the next phase of our fundamental formula here is really how to kind of manage our time and use it. But you should have a plan in there, right? Like how much time do you even have to dedicate to your small business each week, right? Like Kylene, you've got a day job, right? So how much actual time do you have to dedicate to your small business each week?
Yeah. And this is where I think you need to be honest with yourself, and where I haven't always been honest with myself. And therefore, then I stretch myself too far, and then I have disappointments, right? Because I wasn't being honest at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, let's get to number 5 here. So because you've already moved on, and
I don't know
Kidding.
why. I really thought you had covered 4 and 5.
All right. Well, we must have done such a good job in 1 through 3 that you felt like we had it all covered. All right. Number 5. This is, I will sometimes term it the flow, systems, processes. So this part of your business plan is where, going back to what Barb said, a business can uses your SOPs. I'm not saying that you have to have every single thing documented to a T. I'm saying that inside of your business plan, this is a great opportunity to design your business for you and your values. And so any place in your business where there might be a bottleneck, might be not going as planned, if you stop and you say, I'm going to put this into my business plan, I'm going to design this specifically, right? How can you automate things? How can you look at things better? Sometimes the best way to solve a challenge that you have is just to step back from it and address the whole big picture of it. You might not even need to actually change anything. Sometimes it's just a matter of awareness. Right? So having a place in your business plan where you look at your systems, you look at your processes, you look at your policies and procedures and make sure that they are aligned with your strengths, values, and passions will go a long way. Now, this is where we go back to the reviewing process and the fact that this is living, breathing. This is constant, right? So I'm not suggesting that if you're fresh, new business owner, for example, or maybe you've never done a business plan before, that you need to, carve out all this time to document every single process in your business. I'm saying pick one or two and go deep and really get good at it, and then move to the next one, and then add it, right? And then just add the next piece, the next piece, the next piece. And when we do this, right, one of the biggest things that I hear from business owners is time, right? They just don't have enough time in their day, right? How do we get back our time? And my suggestion is always to write a business plan. And people go, wait a second, I just told you I don't have time, so how do you expect me to have time to write a business plan? And I say, you don't have time not to write a business plan. Because like you were just talking about, Kylene, being lost, spending too much time on something that maybe is not giving you enough return. So you are wasting so much time by not having a business plan that just the art or act of working on your business will get you your time back. It might not get you your so I think people think, what's a hack that I can immediately get my time back right now? I don't think there is such a thing. Sure, is there ways that you could do things a little bit more efficiently? We can use ChatGPT, we can use automation, we can, we find these tools and we have these aha moments, but those tools themselves don't work that well unless you have a plan, right? Because you could just feed some stuff into ChatGPT, one or two sentences, and yes, you get some stuff back that seems pretty interesting, but at the end of the day, that's just general. You're trying to design a business that's for you and by you. And so I think taking the time to work on your business will give you more efficiency when it is time to work in your business, and that will ultimately lead you to getting your time back.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. And I do believe that is probably your superpower right there, is really creating those systems in place and automation to make sure things are still running smoothly so you can be present in the times that you're needing to be present and everything's still working in the background, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that's a really big, now, as I mentioned, I'd love to hear, what are we missing, right? Those to me are the 5 elements. And while you guys are putting into the chat here, what's missing from the business plan conversation here, I also want to make this really clear. At the end of the day, this entire process really is about, and specifically to the flow, but really your business plan in general, but specifically to the flow, I mentioned working on versus working in. So Kylene, can you kind of describe the difference between the two?
Yeah. So when you work on your business, that's your foundation. That's the nuts and bolts of it, right? That's what keeps it together. And then working in your business is like the daily tasks that you have, the busy tasks.
Yeah. Well, and you're exactly right, but not only just the busy tasks. Sometimes I think people might go, well, the way Aaron talks about it, working on is the only thing that's important. Working in doesn't matter. But working in is actually where you make money. You have to make the product. You have to provide the service. The have-tos, right? Now, we want to change our mindset and make those feel like get-tos. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I can talk all I want, but if I don't do the thing for my ideal customer, I'm not going to make the money. I'm not going to, fulfill my purpose. And so we do need to work in our business. But this whole process makes that more efficient, makes that more structured. So again, to get your time back, the more efficient you are, the better off you're going to be. You can do more, you can grow. And yes, there are times where you just need to try things and need to take action.
Yeah.
But ultimately, as you grow your business, you're going to need to make it more efficient. And that only happens when you spend time working on your business, which is what this whole idea is all about here today.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
that makes sense?
Yeah, most definitely. Let's check in with some of the comments that have come through. Sandy is here. Hello.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And then Barbara, walking through a process for a project from start to finish can be a big eye opener. Organizing floor plan creates better efficiency, having changed equipment and supplies around many times. It's
Yeah,
huge. Yep.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love what Barb's saying there. I think she's kind of reiterating my point that just walking through the process alone is worth a lot of it. You might not even make any changes, but that awareness, ultimately your subconscious is going to go to work. And then, like she said, moving stuff around multiple times, and that's okay because it's going to change, it's going to evolve. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
And then Craig wrote self-value.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah.
And I think that's a really good point, Craig, right, to include that. Now, in my mind, that kind of ends up in brand. But yeah, really kind of understanding what your value is. It could also be a little bit part of your pricing strategy, what your perceived value. Again, the perception is only really about how your customers perceive it, because that's at the end of the day how you're going to get paid. But your self-value is a big part of that. So being very clear on that. I love that, Craig. Thank you for sharing that.
It looks like Tanya is checking in. Hello. Just wanted to say, hey, having a sale today, so busy. Well, good luck
Awesome.
today.
Yeah, good luck. Awesome to hear that. And yeah, glad to see Tanya tuned in, and can't wait to hear your thoughts on the replay, Tanya. So thank you. All right. Well, you want to wrap up the fundamentals pillar here so we can get to the wellness?
Yeah. Now we're here. Okay. Sorry. So you don't need to have all those 5 areas perfect, I believe is what Aaron was saying. But if you just focus on one at a time, maybe this week you just focus on one, you're making progress towards having that business plan, that good foundation for your business. And then that progress is immediately going to start reducing any stress and anxiety that you have, because you're getting more efficient and clear, and you have that guide. So
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's talk about the wellness pillar.
Yeah. So this is really, the energizing part. So planning that energizes you. It's, a plan that creates stress, that heaviness, and it drains your energy. It's not going to be sustainable, because I don't think any of us want to stay in that place. And if we're there, we don't want to stay there very long. So
Yeah.
it really needs to energize you, because that reflects what you're trying to achieve. What do you want from this? Why did you start this business in the first place? So don't just do what some guru out there says to do. Do what feels right for you. And that's what's going to make you successful and create that energy and help you get through some of the challenging times, right? You're going to be able to focus and be excited about the future of your business instead of resenting it.
Exactly. And I think to the wellness aspect of it, right? That is so crucial, that we can suggest, right? We can even sound prescriptive at times, but if you're not inspired by this, if you're not, kind of tying your strengths, values, and passions into this, then it's just another task on your to-do list. At the end of the day, to feel that fulfillment, right? Think of writing your business plan as an opportunity to design your dream, right? Like when I think, when people are building a new house, for example, when I was younger, another one of these wild, fun things I got to do in my life, my family, we sold log homes to people. And the most excited the customers was when we were sitting down and talking to them and working through designing their plan, right? Like, oh yeah, and they're just visualizing the whole thing. They can see it, but we're putting it down on paper. We're making that blueprint so that then we can get the log home package ordered, right? But in that moment, right, they were so excited because it was starting to come to life. It was the first step, because without that blueprint, they weren't going to be able to create the log home of their dreams, right? So the same thing with our business here. Think of it as like your blueprint to get started, and then we turn it into that working document, which again allows us. Barb said once a year she reviews hers, right? If you're newer to this, or this is the first time you've done a business plan, I would suggest every 6 months to do that, and then get into that rhythm. But keep it fresh, keep it out there, right? Every time I get a chance to kind of update mine, I also just kind of peruse it real quick because it gives me that burst of energy. I just feel excited about what's to come, right? So that's, I think the easier we make this on ourselves, the better off we're going to be.
Yep. Yep. Looks like Doug wrote, Aaron and Father were the best-selling log home dealer for our firm. Oh, that's awesome.
It was fun. It was a blast. I was learning a lot. I had Doug, a mentor and friend of mine. So yeah, good time. So
Yep.
all right. Well, my battery's just about dead here, Kylene. So
Okay.
let's kind of start wrapping this up here.
Yeah. Yeah. So just remember, when you have that direction, when you have that plan, your stress level is going to drop. You're going to have more positive energy. You're not just guessing what's going to come or what's coming at you and just constantly being reactive. You're actually building with purpose, and that's going to bring you more joy and really ensure that you have that energy to keep moving forward for your business that it deserves. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. For sure. All right. Well, let's close this up, Kylene. And I do want to also put this out there. If you guys haven't signed up for it yet, coming next week, actually, April 4th and 5th is the profitable pricing webinar series. And so I'll talk about it in 1 second. But I just want to just give you guys this little kind of tidbit. If you feel like you're running around in circles, this is the first step. You got this. It's easy. You can do it. And here's the really great news. You don't have to have any special skills or talent to be able to write a business plan.
Mm-hmm.
All you need to do is be able to put your thoughts onto paper and try to organize them in such a way that feels right for you. And from that, it will evolve, right? And from that, you can ask questions. From that, you can reach out to people like me or Kylene or anybody here in the chat and say, hey, let's talk about this. But, you just start building with intention, I guess, is what I would leave people with, Kylene.
Yep.
Yep.
And
then
go
you
ahead.
want to talk to people a little bit about this profitable pricing workshop then?
Yeah. So the cool thing about this
No, you
is
go ahead.
what? The cool thing about this is it is a free training that Aaron is putting
I don't
on.
know.
And
Is the internet bad there for you? I don't know.
no, can you not hear me?
I can't. Go ahead.
Okay. So it's a free training designed to help you set your prices that reflect your value and attract the right customers to you. And then, once you have that, as we kind of discussed through here, that's a huge component to the success and life of your business. So please sign up at osg.link/value. Absolutely.
All right, Kylene. Well, let's close it up. We'll hopefully see everybody over in the Facebook group, and it must be because of the battery here. It must be kind of getting chunky on me here. So I think that's about it, Kylene.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. We'll be back here next Saturday for Small Business Saturday. And so we're in the home stretch of the fundamental formula here. And so we're going to start into the pollinate phase and work on action implementation. So this is one I really need to pay attention to. So have fun. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Dark days, overwhelmed, trapped in a maze. Small business owner, stress had me in a daze. Every problem piled up, couldn't catch a break. Thought I couldn't make it, my dreams were at stake. But then I found a group that changed my whole perspective. Our success group of a community so effective. We all chasing that dream, sharing struggles and fears. They understood my journey, wiped away my tears. Together we grew